Nashville, been waiting for more information, and now we have this. Police have released two different versions of body cam footage, both are very similar, of officers entering that school, responding to the school shooting. The footage is from two cops who shot and eventually killed the shooter. Aisha, we watched it together about 10 minutes ago or so, and what we have done is we've selected certain screen grabs, we call them, to relay to our viewers some of what was happening inside these, what seemed to be empty classrooms at the time.
Right. We want to be very careful for this video because it does, at the end, show what eventually happened, and you see a still shot of it right there where officers shoot this school shooter. But what we took away, both Bill and I, from this is these officers are very methodical, and they get right into the action.
They were in a hurry.
They pull up to the school, open their trunks, grab their weapons, and they walk right in, and they go door to door looking for the shooter one after another until they finally locate that shooter. So we want to bring back in retired NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow. Paul, thanks for coming back. You've been able to look at this with us too. Your first thoughts?
My first thought is that clearly there was some training embedded in this entire thing. As you mentioned, Aisha, they're going in very methodically. They're talking to each other. They're clearing particular rooms. They're clearing particular doors. Generally, the way this is set up is usually you have a primary shooter and you have a primary comms person, all right? When you have a two-man team, generally what you want is somebody talking to Central, to other units that are arriving, so you make sure that people showing up know that you are there, you don't end up in a friendly fire situation, and then you have a primary shooter. I don't know if that's necessarily going on here, but you do see that one is out front and one is sort of behind. They're talking to each other, taking the door, they're letting each other know what they're doing. They're very cognizant of the fact that they're the first two on the scene, so they know that they are at the point of the spear here. And remember something, they also know that they're in a children's school. All right. So something that is really, really important is the term firearms control. And what you don't want is, for instance, a friendly fire incident, but also a chronic fire incident. There's various terms for it. But what it really means is that somebody shoots, ricochets bounce around. The read is, oh, somebody is shooting at us. And now you have contagious firing. Everybody starts shooting pell-mell.
Excellent point. At least 3 officers, there might have been more, that entered the school right around the same time. I mentioned 2 body cam videos released. Each runs about 3 minutes of what has been made public so far.
Right.
There's alarms going off in the background. I think they were set off when the killer first entered the school and opened fire on the door, which probably set off the alarm initially.
Right.
And at times you can hear gunshots being heard. Obviously, that was on the 2nd floor, which is where they found the killer.
Right, yeah, so they seem to be going methodically door to door. Remember, they don't know what they're getting into, right? So they don't know where this person is. And they, as you said, they're going door to door. They're being very methodical, and then they hear the shots. And I've only seen this one very quickly, but it sounds like what happens is they're on the 1st floor. They hear the shots above them. They know, okay, we got to run to the gunfire. And that's what they do. And again, firearms control. From what I could hear, we're at about 7, 8 shots. It may turn out to be more. It's just what I could hear.
8.
About 8
4
shots,
at a time.
right? And they are they're somewhat separated. You hear him saying, I don't know which cop it is. You hear him saying, "Move away from the gun. Move away from the gun." That argues to me that that's the pause right there, right? They shoot 4 times. There's that pause, probably because she's still moving. And then you hear another round of shots and then he's still saying, "Move away from the gun. Move away." So she sounds very committed. But they put her down. It's not 40 shots, 50 shots, ricochets all over the place, kids potentially getting hit with friendly fire. It's the last thing you want, and this looks like it was done quite well. Wow.
Yeah.
Paul, thanks for that instant analysis. You made some excellent points.
Thank you.
When cops consider that they're going into classrooms with 9- and 10-year-olds inside.
Every cop has that story. You know, I remember one, it was just shooting of a dog. It wasn't me, but it was somebody I was with, and the round went through the dog. The ricochet effect is in a closed space, in a housing project or something like that. The read is somebody is shooting at us, and it echoes and everything else. You have to be cognizant of that stuff. These guys look to me like they were trained for this specific kind of a thing, for an active shooter thing. And it begs the larger point, which is, you know, we always have this conversation after these horrible shootings, right? And we all want to arrive at a solution that'll try to prevent it in the future. And we talked about some of those earlier, using retired cops because of how, you know, embedded in these issues they are and how committed. But another thing is that I don't think this is something that should be done at the federal level. These domestic events like this, and they are domestic terrorism events, no matter what we call them, they're local. The cops, the local cops, are who show up for these things.
Well, two things are clear. They acted with speed, and there was a lot of communication on there.
Everything was intentional, and everything, as far as we can tell, went perfectly, and so many lives were saved.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you both.
Okay, more to come from Nashville.